Yo, what is up, everybody? It's me, Downweep here, back with part 12 for What If Asta was Meliodas' son. You guys have been looking forward to this series for a long time now, and it has not been a month since the last part. Anyway, so I'm pretty excited to actually have this out for you and not a month period of time. So I hope you guys are looking forward to the part. Last time had some pretty insane stuff happen, so make sure to go up and check that post. Make sure you guys catch up to the series so you can see what happened. But I'm going to try and keep this intro short, so let's just get into this part for the fight between Ban, the sin of greed, and the son of the sin of wrath. Let's get into it right now.
This is a tale of ancient times, an era before the human and non-human worlds were forever divided. After many, many battles, the 7 deadly sins, an order of legendary knights, would be divided. Dragon Sin Meliodas and Princess Elizabeth would have a son in a faraway land, and his name was Asta. Asta would eventually attain his own grimoire and start his journey to become the Wizard King.
Asta had just finished off his half of the army that had been attacking the Witch's Forest, that being, well, the Eye of the Midnight Sun. The other half, being the Diamond Kingdom, was completely wiped out in a similar fashion, and Asta could feel it, the abundance of mana disappearing and crying out as it died. What is that? Asta be thinking. Asta would turn, having to rush back to his friends, as he goes running towards where this power was coming from. By the time he had arrived, the only one left standing was Noelle, barely able to hold on as her water dragon's nest was about to crack and break under its own weight from the pressure being put on it. Asta would then see him. Standing there, he'd be in rough red clothing, splatter of blood from the fresh kills he had just made. He would have a long, shaggy, tangled mane of hair, gray and white like snow, his eyes a crimson red. He would notice Asta immediately, as Asta and Ban would make eye contact, Ban then moving his hand away as Noelle would fall over, her magic power having been completely depleted. Everyone on the field would be almost unconscious, with Vanessa barely able to be watching the fight, as she's about to see Asta take on this guy. Everyone would be trying to call out for Asta to run, saying he's too strong. As Ban would walk forward, he would then say something to this kid. "You remind me of someone else I once knew a long time ago," he would say. "Let's see if you can take a beating like he could." Suddenly, Ban would disappear, faster, as he then punches Asta in the gut. Asta didn't even have time to react, as he goes sent flying, a imprint of Ban's fist left in his abdomen. Asta would be shocked, his eyes now narrowing as he realized this guy's no ordinary person. Ban would be moving again, as Asta's realizing his magic power is slowly draining. "This guy's taking my magic, huh? Well then, switch." Asta would pull out of his grimoire a large black sword, that being the huge Demon Slayer sword. As Ban would then try to strike him, hitting the sword, Ban would recoil, realizing that his magic power had just been drained. Interesting, Ban would say. "You're gonna be fun to play with," he'd say, sticking his tongue out, as we would see blood on the inside, just like a fox, saliva foaming at the edges of his mouth, ready for the kill. Ban would rip out the nunchucks from his side as he'd now be using a weapon too, slashing and cutting at the sword. Asta barely able to block with the large blade, as Ban would be starting to aim for his legs. Asta would actually be on the back foot in this fight. Of course, Asta hadn't fully maximized his power yet, and he was about to. Asta would charge forward, just using anti-magic, as anytime he switched to his other magic types, Ban would just be able to steal his power. "Who are you?" Asta would ask. Ban would smirk, saying it's rude to ask someone their name before you give theirs. "That is, if you have time to think about that before you're dodging," Ban would say, slashing at Asta faster. Asta would come up with a plan, as he then pulls out another sword. This actually would distract Ban for a good 2 or 3 seconds. "Why do you have..." Asta would then use Lost Vein, summoning some clones as they go running towards Ban using different powers. One using his angelic science, he blasts Ban with light, blinding him, and the other going in for the kill, slashing with its Lost Vein cloned blade as it tries to kill Ban, stabbing directly through his chest. Ban would cough up blood, as he would then pretend to fall to the ground, Asta letting his guard down, thinking, "That guy was ridiculously strong. Sorry I had to use such a cheap tactic like that, but I can't let my friends fall here." Before Asta could even say anything else, suddenly Ban would be grabbing him by the legs as he pulls him to the ground, Asta slamming his head to the dirt. as Bond then gets on top of him, starts punching him in the face, back and forth with strong punches, wind getting thrown back from his strength. You're real funny, Bond would say, as Bond gets hit harder and harder, using Fox Hunt and stealing Asta's magic power, as he then punches as hard as he can. Asta would coat Lost Vein in anti-magic as he slashes at Bond, cutting his cheek. This cut would not heal as fast as the other wounds. I guess my anti-magic has some sort of effect on his healing, but it doesn't seem to be doing a ton. Bond would charge up a ball of magical power, as he then blasted towards Asta. As Bond's repairing the blast to Asta, he would then yell out to him, saying he has no idea where he might have bought that sword. It must have been his dumbass friend selling it again. But I'll be taking it back from your corpse, Bond would say, smiling, as he blasts the beam of magical power directly towards Asta, saying goodbye, using all of the magic he had stolen from Asta himself. Asta would smile, saying, "You think so, huh?" as he then uses Lost Vein, preparing it. The sound ringing through the air as he then uses full counter. Asta would slash at the air as the magical power would then reflect off of the blade. As Bond would realize who this was, this would be his kid. Suddenly, a blast of magical power would then eviscerate Bond, blasting him back to the field as the dirt and corpses from the army that had fallen to Bond's hands were now coating him in a mountain of flesh, as Bond would have gotten sent flying backwards at miles of speed due to Asta's full counter. Bond would try and get up, as then Asta would use an imperfect technique, something he'd been working on for a while but still hadn't quite mastered. Revenge counter. Him now hitting Bond with all of the attacks that he had been slammed with, all the magic power that had been ripped into Asta himself. Bond would turn, trying to absorb the magic as it's hitting him, saying, "This is perfect, that's just enough time." As this would happen, Vanessa would use her string, now coating his arms as Bond would get pushed to the ground, thinking, damn, one was still awake. All of the Black Bulls would then shout out, telling Asta, "Do it now!" Asta would then scream out, powering up to his maximum power. Bond, now knowing for sure whose mother it was and father, that this was their kid. Asta would have both of his wings out, his angelic half and demonic side. Purple and black growing over his face, his eyes would turn a dark purple, the other glowing gold with the symbol of the goddess race. "Go to hell," he'd say, blasting Bond with all the magic power he could muster in a single, bright, shining, dark attack. Using both light and dark magic, Bond would be completely enveloped by the magic power, as Bond would be on the ground, now in bits and pieces. Bond would be in a state of consciousness thinking, I guess he's just as strong as you were, huh, Captain? Far away in the snowy Spade Kingdom, Meliodas would turn around, him looking off into the distance as if someone called his name. Meliodas would turn back as Dante asks, "Lord Meliodas, what's wrong?" Meliodas would say, "It's nothing," as he then sits back down at the table as they continue their plans for taking down the rest of the kingdoms, as well as improving the Three's devil form powers, with Meliodas being the key to the center of their plan to reopen the demon world and connect the two sides, that being this world, the demon world, and the other side. Back at the battlefield, Asta would have used all of his magic power in one go. As he now only has anti-magic left, he'd fall to the ground, stabbing his sword into the ground, breathing heavily as his wings would then begin to disappear, folding back into his back, before turning out with a bright flare of light and dark. Asta would look up, his face feeling weary, as he would think, No. Bond would suddenly be standing there saying, "Whew, that was pretty good. Sure, that would have sucked for me if I wasn't immortal," he'd say. "Yeah, an immortal, huh?" Asta would say. Damn it. Asta would fall to the ground unconscious, as Bond begins walking forward, as he then tells Asta he's about to kill him. Of course, in Bond's mind, this is not true. Meanwhile, the Queen of Witches would then whisper into Bond's mind, saying, "That's enough. He, as well as my daughter, can be captured now. Take them back with you." Bond would nod, saying, "Whatever, Merlin, let's do this. I promised I'd only help you until this kid showed up anyway. Now you'll help me get back to Elaine, right, Merlin?" Bond would say, his eyes looking up directly to the witch camera she was using. Underneath all of her outside perspective, Merlin was still the same person she had been since all those years ago. Almost 300 years had passed since they had been sent to this world, and they still were unsuccessful and able to trying to reopen their path back to Leonis, and they had no idea why. After their battle against the Demon King, something had happened, something that had reverted them, something that had transported them here, separated them. They had only seen each other one last time before they were all split up, and there was no way to track each other's magic power in this world. Too many interferences, but there were still demons and other creatures as well. So far, Ban and Merlin had only confirmed 4 of the people who had been traveling there, with Ban just confirming the 4th. They only knew about Meliodas, Merlin, and Ban themselves. That was it. They had no idea where King, Diane, or Gother were, where they could have gone or been sent. And they had no idea if Elizabeth was here either until just now. Merlin in this time would be hoping to utilize the power of her daughter in order to bend fate, that being the power she knows she possesses. Vanessa holds the potential to be their key out of this world. She might be the one to be able to bend their fate back to where it was meant to go originally, before everything went wrong. Asta began to wake up as Ban would be thinking this kid's got a ton of stamina, him trying to hit Asta in the neck. Before he could do anything, suddenly something would change as Asta kicks Ban in the head and rolls over onto the ground. Vanessa falling off of Ban's shoulders, Ban turns around telling him, "Hey, I don't need to get rough with you, but if you want another fight, you already know I'm immortal, right?" Before Ban could say anything, he'd be shocked, looking as Asta wasn't there. Instead, his eyes would be purely white, as black was covering his entire body. The other demon, the anti-magic that Ban had not understood what it was earlier, was now in free control. For you see, Asta had used both his magic power all the way to their limit, leaving him exclusively with the power of the anti-magic devil, the demon living inside of a demon. Kill. Kill. The demon within Asta began to awaken, as anti-magic would course over his body, as Asta finally enters into anti-magic demon mode for the first time in his life, unprovoked. Ban would have no idea what was going to happen. Merlin had no clue what was happening, he shouldn't be able to move. Now that she thought about it, she realized that Meliodas' kid had a grimoire. But how was that even possible? Suddenly, the magic camera she'd been using to watch outside the forest would be slashed and disappear, as the anti-magic devil would have cut them off, now cutting Ban out of the loop. Kill. He'd look up. The demon had fully taken over Asta, as this demon using Asta's body was far more merciless than Asta was, moving forward at blinding speed using anti-magic to its fullest potential, slashing with Lostbane and the Demon Slayer sword, cutting at Ban. As Ban's trying to dodge, his arm would get severed, with this version of Asta being far faster than he had been before. He's fast. As Ban tries to regrow his arm, he'd be shocked. It's so slow. The demon had realized that he couldn't be able to completely sever his immortality, but he could slow it down significantly. The demon had coated the blades in a coagulative version of anti-magic. The moment that this cut into Ban's skin, it would act like a blood thinner, except on his immortality that he had drank, meaning that his immortality would be practically useless at this point. And if he got chopped all the way down before he could regenerate, he didn't know if he could get back up again. Ban would take this seriously as he then goes to full power, using Fox Hunt, as he then rips out one of Asta's hearts. This would barely affect the anti-magic demon, as it turns around, now throwing the sword towards Ban. Ban would then use both of his arms to block it, his other arm having finally regenerated after what felt like hours. Ban taking the blow would have both his arms severed, as he gets sent flying back, his magic power being cut in half. What the hell? Ban would be pissed, as he then tries to lift himself up, but before he could, Asta would slam the sword next to Ban's head into the ground, as black anti-magic would swirl around it. As Asta was about to deal the final blow, about to slash Lostbane across Ban's head, Ban would be watching, just as the blade was about to cut his neck. Suddenly, his hand would stop moving, as his body began shaking. No. The demon would get forced back inside as Asta within his own soul would be battling the anti-magic demon. Don't think that you can take my body over that easily, because I never give up. Asta would be punching the anti-magic demon with its strength, overpowering it, as he then forces it back into the grimoire, forcing the anti-magic back, as Asta would fall over, completely unconscious. Bond would be laying on the ground, heaving and sighing, thinking, that was almost it. Elaine, that was almost the end. I was hoping that we'd be together in a different way. Bond would compose himself, as he then pulls himself back up, feeling like crap. Bond would again attempt to take Asta and Vanessa, walking back into the forest as they finally make it back to the witch's castle, or I guess I should say Merlin's castle at this point, with him dumping the two on the floor before he himself would pass out, falling back, laying down. He's now breathing heavily, saying he needs food. Food. Merlin would recognize the blades that Asta was using, that being the same blades that the elves had when they had first entered this world all those years ago. The swords of Licht before he transformed into a demon. As Asta's consciousness would fade to black, the Black Bulls having no idea where their future was going to lead, as their fate was left in the hands of the Queen of Witches and this incredibly powerful immortal. Who were they? What do they have to do with them? And why do they seem to know Asta? All these questions will be answered in the next part for What If Asta Was Meliodas' Son, where we'll be getting into the end game of the first major arc of Black Clover, that being the Elf's Revival, as well as the demon Zagreus. Now, if you guys are looking forward to that, make sure to slap the like button, comment down below what you thought of this part, and subscribe to my channel for more videos from me. The next part will be coming much sooner than a month. I'm hoping to have it be coming out within the next couple of days to the next week, because as you could tell, this part was shorter, and that's for a few good reasons. It's because I really wanted to touch more on Bond versus Asta, as well as explain what's going on a little bit with what happened to the 7 deadly sins. So you guys have a lot more information now to digest, and I feel like starting the next arc from a new part will probably be a much better transition, so that's what I'm deciding to do. Anyway, after this, the next video I have planned that I'm planning to continue is What If Deckard Rewind another part, which will be going all the way from where we last left off to like him getting into the overhaul arc, the official overhaul arc from the anime. And then other than that, I'm thinking of making a new part for What If Naruto was the Sage of Six Paths to try and get some more of that done, since I really do want to finish that one. And that's sort of my plan for right now. So for those of you who are actually here at the end of the video, thank you so much. And before I end it, I wanted to let you guys know that I'll be doing streams every Friday now, which will probably be like 2-ish hours. And they'll be for my members, which is getting all the way to Weeb Kage. And membership is just like a thing you can apply for on the channel. You just pay like 99 cents for lowest rank. I made it the cheapest possible option because I really didn't want to make membership super expensive to get the perks I want people to have, which are the member streams, which is what I'll be getting into now. Is I'm going to be doing art stuff like every Friday, art studies and just drawing and hanging out. So if you guys are watching the videos to the end, you might as well come hang out in the streams. They are membership exclusive streams, which means that you can still watch them, but you can't chat like in the live chat. That's going to be like a member perk thing that I'm doing. But it's only 99 cents if you really want to talk. But I figured I would announce it here just so that you guys who might like to watch me stream would know. And yeah, thanks for watching to the end. I'll see you guys in the next one. Goodbye.